Welcome to my channel Earnside, where smart design meets real control. In part 1, we used AI tools like Ideogram and Recraft to generate 6 icon ideas, fast and creative, but that was just the beginning. Today in part 2, we're inside Adobe Illustrator, tracing those icons and reviewing the common mistakes that autotrace often leaves behind, things that can quietly lead to rejection on stock platforms. In the final part, we'll rebuild everything manually, so if you want full control and clean, compliant vectors, this series is for you. Even if you're a beginner, you'll learn how to avoid rejection and create icons that actually sell. This upcoming part is super interesting, so make sure to like, share, and help me hit that 1K subscriber goal. Let's start the video. I've opened Adobe Illustrator. This is the latest version. Now I'm clicking on New File to get started. The new document window is now open. I've selected pixels as the unit and set both the width and height to 6000 pixels. The color mode is set to RGB, with raster effects at 300 ppi for high-quality output. Preview mode is left at default. Now I'm clicking Create, and our new document is ready to go. I clicked on File, then scrolled down and selected Place. From my Downloads folder, I chose 3 images generated earlier using Ideogram. Once selected, I clicked Place, and now they're loaded into the document, ready for tracing. I selected the first image, the heart icon, and clicked on Image Trace from the top toolbar. Once the trace was complete, I clicked Expand to convert it into editable vector paths. Then, I right-clicked and chose Ungroup to separate the individual elements for further editing. Using the Selection tool, I clicked on the first vector icon and moved it slightly to the side, just enough to reveal the white background behind it. Then, I clicked on an empty area to deselect everything, followed by a click directly on the white background shape. Finally, I pressed the Delete key on my keyboard, and the background was removed. I moved the second icon, the smartphone, slightly to the side and clicked Image Trace. Once the trace was complete, I clicked Expand, then right-clicked and selected Ungroup. There was a white background underneath, so I tried deleting it with the Selection tool, but some white areas remained inside the icon. So I pressed Ctrl-Z to undo, then switched to the Magic Wand tool. I clicked on the white background, and all white shapes were instantly selected. Finally, I hit the Delete key, and the entire white background was successfully removed. I followed the same process for the third icon as well. First, I moved it slightly to the side, then clicked on Image Trace. Once the trace was complete, I clicked Expand, then right-clicked and selected Ungroup. Just like before, I used the Magic Wand tool to select all white areas and pressed Delete to clean up the background completely. Then, I used the Selection tool to place each icon one by one onto the artboard. I zoomed into the first icon to inspect the details closely. Next, I selected all the icons together and grouped them. Finally, I checked their alignment and direction to see how many mistakes were present, such as uneven spacing, misaligned paths, or leftover white areas. This shape isn't balanced. There are too many anchor points on one side, and not enough on the other. Some anchors are placed where they're not even needed. That adds unnecessary complexity. Let me select one anchor so you can see it clearly. This one looks fine. Now let's check the rest. Look at this anchor. It doesn't match the opposite side at all. Now zoom into this corner, see how it's fixed here. But on the other side, it's completely different. That lack of symmetry could easily lead to rejection. Now I'm still on the first icon, just zooming out to show the remaining parts. You'll notice even the corners have proper Bezier handles, which means these curves were made cleanly with the pen tool. That's why the shape looks balanced and professional. Every point is placed with intention. Now I'm moving to the second icon and zooming in to check the circle. At first glance, it looks fine. A perfect circle usually has 4 anchor points, and this one does too. But I'm still not fully convinced it's a true circle. Something feels off. Next, I selected the rounded corners at the bottom of the phone icon, and here's where the mistakes start to show. Watch closely as I click on the handles. They should be straight, but they're not. Anyone familiar with Illustrator tools would spot this instantly. But no worries, if you want to learn Illustrator properly, I can teach that too. I've spent over 5 years working hands-on with my PC, testing everything myself, and I'm still learning every day. So if you find this video helpful, support my channel by subscribing. It really means a lot. Now let's keep checking. Some anchor points are fine, but most aren't clean or consistent. And honestly, fixing all of this manually would take a lot of time. That's why in the next and final part, I'll rebuild everything from scratch, fully manual and fully professional. So make sure to subscribe now so you don't miss it. Now I'm moving to the third icon, and in today's part, I'm just giving you a quick preview. Take note of the anchor points as I click through them. In the next part, I'll break everything down in detail, which anchors are unnecessary, where the the roundness doesn't make sense and what needs to be fixed. For now, just observe closely as I go point by point. This will help you understand how to spot issues before they become rejection risks. I went back to the File menu and clicked on Place. This time, I selected the icons generated using Recraft, and since they were downloaded as SVG files, they're already in vector format. As soon as I clicked Place, the mouse pointer attached all 3 icons. I placed each one individually onto the artboard. Now, because these are SVGs, there's no need to use image trace, they're already clean vectors. But let's still inspect them closely point by point to see how well they were built. We'll check the anchor count, curve quality, and overall structure. Even though they're auto-generated, it's important to know what's happening under the hood, especially if you plan to upload to stock platforms. So let's zoom in and start reviewing each anchor. Let's zoom into this first icon and examine its anchor points. At first glance, it looks clean, but as we go deeper, you'll notice a few issues. Some curves are overloaded with extra anchor points, which makes the shape look slightly uneven. There's also a bit of distortion in places where the form should feel smooth and balanced. These kinds of imperfections are common in auto-generated vectors even if they're SVGs. That's why manual review is so important, especially when preparing assets for stock platforms. We'll clean this up and rebuild it properly, keeping it sharp, minimal, and compliant. Let's move on to the cleanup process. Now let's move on to the second icon. Visually, it looks simple and clean, but let's zoom in and inspect the anchor points to see how well it's actually built. Right away, you'll notice that some shapes have more anchor points than necessary. This can make the icon feel slightly uneven, even if it looks fine from a distance. In this curve here, the anchor distribution isn't smooth, it creates a subtle bump that breaks the flow of the shape. Also, check this area, the corners aren't consistent. One side is sharp, the other is slightly rounded, but not in a deliberate way. It feels like the auto-generation tool didn't fully optimize the geometry. Even though this was downloaded as an SVG and technically qualifies as a vector, it still needs manual refinement. Stock platforms often reject icons with messy anchor structures, even if the design looks okay. That's why it's important to inspect every point and clean up where needed. We'll fix these issues and rebuild the icon with proper anchor placement, smooth curves, and clean geometry so it's truly ready for upload. Let's start the cleanup. Now let's inspect the final icon, a minimal flat black vector of a pencil and ruler crossed, representing an education theme. At first glance, it looks neat and balanced. But once we zoom in and start checking the anchor points, a few issues become clear. The pencil and ruler should intersect cleanly, but the anchor distribution is uneven. Some curves have too many points, while others are missing the control they need. Look at the eraser end, the roundness isn't consistent. It feels slightly off compared to the rest of the shape. And the ruler's measurement lines? They're not evenly spaced, and the anchor placement makes them look slightly misaligned. These kinds of flaws might seem small, but they matter, especially when you're submitting to stock platforms where precision and clarity are everything. Even though this icon was auto-generated, it still needs manual cleanup to meet professional standards. In the next part, I'll rebuild everything from scratch: clean anchors, perfect symmetry, and full compliance. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. It really supports the channel and helps me keep creating more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the final part.